I am not apologizing. My friend, I've been a media owner.
From the corridors of parliament to the heart of the cabinet, Moses Kuria has never been a stranger to controversy. He is bold, brazen, and now he is out. A loyal foot soldier in President Ruto's camp, he rose quickly through the ranks, first as cabinet secretary for trade, then public service, and finally as the president's senior economic advisor.
I, Moses Kuria, being appointed a cabinet secretary of Kenya.
Kuria always had a sharp tongue, but in politics that can be both your sword and your downfall.
Katika muhula wetu wa kwanza wa Jubilee, lugha yetu ilikuwa kazi peke yake. Sasa kuna kazi inaendelea jamani. Kuna rolaji lambe.
Ever a controversial figure, Kuria was serving as a senior economic advisor, a position he held after he was fired as the CS in two ministries: investment, trade and industry, and public service and delivery management. In a statement on his X handle, Kuria confirmed that he met President William Ruto, who accepted his decision to resign from government. This evening, I have met my boss and my friend President William Ruto. The president has graciously accepted my decision to resign from government, Kuria stated. While thanking President William Ruto for granting him an opportunity to serve in the government in various dockets, Kuria highlighted his pride in contributing to the implementation of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. I thank President Ruto for having given me an opportunity to serve as Cabinet Secretary for Investments, Trade and Industry for 11 months, Public Service Delivery and Performance Management for 9 months, and Senior Economic Advisor for the last 10 months, he remarked. Adding that, as I move on to pursue personal interest, I am proud of the work the President and I did to implement the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, which I designed together with the President. Kuria's resignation came hours after he tweeted that there will be no elections in 2027. He did not immediately clarify whether the statement on elections was personal opinion, a political strategy, or reflective of government thinking. He justified his comments by pointing to the then stalled appointment of the Electoral Commission (IEBC). Courts had blocked key nominations, and with time ticking, constitutional deadlines were in doubt. Kuria's resignation marks a significant political development within the Kenya Kwanza administration, coming at a time when the government is facing mounting pressure over governance issues, youth-led protests, and concerns over rising authoritarianism. There has been no official comment yet from State House or the President's office regarding Kuria's exit or his remarks on the 2027 elections. His resignation was, however, received with mixed feelings, with a section of politicians terming it as a fake, calculated political move aimed at weakening former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagwa's influence in the Mount Kenya region in the run-up to the 2027 general election. For many people in Mount Kenya, Kuria is nothing more than a gun for hire and is being used by the head of state to launch a new political party and split the votes in the populous region. Some also believe that the resignation was genuine given the controversial nature of Kuria. He must have felt that the ship was sinking and he needed to bolt before it was too late. He realized that President Ruto's agenda cannot be solved in the Mount Kenya region. But Moses Kuria has always been a controversial figure and holds the record for statements against people and positions that he does not like. For instance, he was locked out of a meeting with United States Trade Ambassador Catherine Tai that was held in Chicago. He at one time claimed that he was firmly in charge of Kenya in the absence of President William Ruto, who was in America, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who was in Colombia, and Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi. CS Kuria claimed he was in charge of the country despite the Speaker of the National Assembly being present. Our President, Deputy President, and Prime Secretary traveled outside. This means I am firmly in charge, said CS Kuria. By law, in the absence of the President and the Deputy President, the Speaker of the National Assembly is in charge of the country. Angered by Kenyans' sentiments on the price of fuel, he urged Kenyans to drill their own wells. He warned Kenyans that the cost of fuel will continue increasing by 10 shillings every month until February 2024. Kuria termed the media as prostitutes in June 2023, despite a court order in place preventing him from speaking about and insulting Kenyan journalists. Moses Kuria went ahead and defied the order and branded media as prostitutes. I said recently, an arrow in the night, these prostitutes from the media. How they come at me is how I will respond to them. The way they feel hurt when I call them that is the same way we are hurt when they wrongly accuse us, and they should give us time to work. They were with the previous government for 10 years. Moses Kuria went ahead and threatened to withhold all government advertising on certain media houses after being linked with the edible oil scam. In July 2023, Kuria went on a rant insulting former President Uhuru Kenyatta and his family, and while at Gatundu Stadium, he threatened to storm the Kenyatta Ichaweri home and urinate outside the gates. He faced backlash from Kenyatta's supporters, who demanded he apologizes to Uhuru Kenyatta and to show him respect. He had said that he will lead people to go and urinate or protest outside Mama Ngina and Uhuru's home. Perhaps the biggest reason why his resignation has been lukewarmly received is his relationship with Rigathi Gachagua. He has never had a place in heart for the Prince of Wamunyoro. While insisting he had little to do with Gachagua's impeachment, the former Gatundu South lawmaker claimed Gachagua's hunger for power and divisive politics led Kenya Kwanza allies with no choice but to oust him. Kuria claimed that Gachagua was a divisive character who damaged the Mount Kenya's bloc reputation, and he will never forgive Gachagua for the crime of eroding the Mount Kenya's people value and reducing their brand identity. He accused Gachagua on going back on the promises the Kenya Kwanza administration made to the people during the campaign period. He intimated that Gachagua became too greedy for immediate power just 2 years into their reign at the expense of the people and even the government in which he served, thereby indirectly orchestrating his own impeachment and subsequently political downfall. While terming Gachagua's eventual removal from office by both houses of parliament as an own goal, Kuria said the former DP brought trouble upon himself when he allegedly started demeaning, insulting, and blackmailing legislators. He went on to state that despite initially opposing the planned impeachment, even before the motion for removal was tabled, he was eventually left with no other choice but to back it solely based on Gachagua's own actions and miscalculations. Kuria never spared his opponents, and in 2019, a Nairobi court dismissed an incitement case against him where he had been charged with uttering insulting and inciting remarks against Orange Democratic Movement ODM leader Raila Odinga and his wife Ida Odinga. Kuria was accused of making the unprintable remarks against Odinga and Ida during a political function at Wangige area in Kiambu on September 11, 2027. Milimani Chief Magistrate Francis Andai dismissed the charges against Kuria, saying the Jubilee MP had no case to answer. Magistrate Andai ruled that a video presented in court was in Kikuyu language and that the prosecution failed to authenticate its source. The video was purely in Kikuyu, and the prosecution failed to avail a Kikuyu translator, said Magistrate Andai. He further noted that the Wembe ni ule ule words uttered by MP Kuria in the video cannot be interpreted to mean they could cause harm or death to anyone. Kuria's economic turns have been facing a slip down the road after the High Court authorized the sale of his property to recover a 50 million debt. He was, however, given a lifeline when the court issued a conservatory order temporarily halting the auction of Kuria's prime apartments in Ruaka and Juja estates in Kiambu County. The interim orders followed an application filed by the former Public Service Cabinet Secretary's wife, Joyce Njambi, at the High Court challenging the ruling that gave the bank the leeway to auction Kuria's apartments. While giving the orders, the judge cautioned the bank against auctioning the properties, noting that there would be consequences for disobedience. The court order followed days after Kuria applied to stop the sale of his property. However, Judge Alem Vishram declined his application, paving the way for the auction. Once a rising star in Kenya's political constellation, will Kuria manage to turn the slippery and rambling mountain around? What is his game plan? Only time will tell.
Na naona hapo tu ndio unaelekea tu hapo, utakula tiaga, utakula Na ikikosekana sisi tufanye, tukimaliza hii harambee tunafanya leo ya vikundi. Nitawaita harambee ingine hapa leo